Hey, what is up YouTube? Kolst here. So the Throne of the Tides has come out and Arena had a rotation, which is now mostly standard. So basic Arena balance has completely changed. So it's time for us to make another tier list video here. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm just going to talk about the classes one by one. And I'm going to jump back and forth between the stats here. I'm not really going to talk about numbers or anything. It's not that kind of video. But basically, I just want to have the cards sorted by win rate so I can talk about what the big important cards are for each class. Because this is a meta where the really powerful cards are determining everything. So of course, as always, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, comment, all that stuff, or dislike, whatever. It all helps the algorithm. For that, I want to talk about the class which is the furthest from the middle line, the furthest from 50%, because there is one clear class that is an outlier, and it is Priest. And Priest is in the awful category because it is by far the clear worst class in Arena. If we look at the stats here, they just don't have good cards. They have like Elikmount, right? It's like one of the clear top cards. Okay, it's like they have some big taunts, they can survive aggro. They can't really do anything else. There's a chance they can, you know, discover a dragon lackey or something and scam a game that way, but really they just don't have good cards. You know, they have some good control stuff. They're essentially just incredibly inconsistent. They don't really, you know, discover dragons or mechs or anything, so that's why Priest is clearly in the worst category. But with that, we'll shake things up a little bit and go more up on the playable classes. So let's go from the top now, basically. So there are two classes that are going to be in the top tier for this list. So the first one I'm going to talk about here is Shaman. Shaman really just has a lot of really good cards. You know, they still have the things like Wildpaw Cavern, but you know, they got the big addition of Command of Neptulon as well, and they still have, you know, there's just like, they just have so many good cards. The funny thing is that outside of like Snowfall Guardian and just chaining snowfalls or something, Shaman's actually like relatively fair compared to some of the other classes. They're at least beating you with their cards is what I'm trying to say, where other classes are not. So, but Shaman just has just so many good cards. They're clearly in tier 1. The next class we'll talk about is a bit more, honestly, they have very good cards too, but also they can also just beat you with cards that they didn't draft pretty well as well, and that is Paladin. Paladin always has really good cards in Arena. You know, they have like Templar Captain and stuff, but a couple of the big things they have as well is they have Bronze Explorer. And they also have a lot of mechs, and they have a mech colossal. I have this filtered, by the way, not including legendaries, just because it's trying to talk about the cards that you're more likely to see, but because everyone has a good colossal, everyone has good legendaries, right? But Paladin also has good ways to get good mechs and then just get a gorilla bot and then randomly get a leviathan and stuff. It tells you something when Immortalized in Stone is this far down the list of, you know, their cards, right? They just have so many good cards. Seed Cloud Buckler, a huge way to just automatically win if you can hit that as well. Just crazy value. So that was funny. I just realized cards were not loading because my internet was dead. Good thing I'm not streaming tonight. And anyway, so I'm connected to mobile hotspot through my phone. But anyway, let's just get back to this tier list. With that, we're going to be moving into tier 2, and these are classes that can be, you know, still very strong. Really, any class can be strong right now. Priest less so, but you know, any class can work, but these are classes that just aren't quite as consistent as Shaman and Paladin right now. First one I'm going to put here is Rogue. So Rogue is kind of the ultimate scam class right now and just not really beating you with their own cards. You can still probably draft kind of aggressive with Rogue, but really like a lot of their top performing cards, you know, Tooth and Nefarian, Dragon's Horde, Lobotomizer, Reconnaissance, Burglar, Swashbuckler, Jackpot, you know, just all cards that are trying to just discover random crap and just win that way. But yeah, they also have good tempos, so they also still have the Plague Scientist combo, you know, Plague Scientist on a Pufferfist to just blow up everything. So yeah, they just do a lot of just unfair things, but they're just not the most consistent, so they're not at tier 1. The next one we're going to put on this tier is a very new addition to the good classes, which is Warrior. So Warrior, if you look at their cards, they got one of the biggest additions with the their new 8-drop Tidal Revenant. Tidal Revenant just, you know, it does a lot. It does everything you want for a late game card. It has initiative, it protects your health through armor gain. Armor gain's actually good because they do have some armor synergies as well, like the Onyxian Drake. And they also got 2 of the best Warrior cards probably ever for Arena to come back, which were Outrider's Axe and Super Collider. So it feels like Warriors should be inconsistent, but you can see like there's a huge outlier that they're getting a lot of Tidal Revenants offered. Most classes, a lot of classes don't have a card above 35% of decks. This card's in 50, so the big thing making Warrior pretty consistent. It's just that they get so many title revenants, basically. So I think you do have some high roll potential because you can just get Fires as Nashari and win that way. You can get the broken weapons, but overall, Warrior is kind of more on the fairer side. They don't have too much just completely random discover otherwise, so probably more on the consistent side, more of a class you expect to maybe, you know, go mid-range wins with more often than going, you know, for a home run. And with that, let's talk about the last class on tier 2, and that class is going to be Warlock. So Warlock is a bit unique now, it seems like, compared to a lot of the other top classes, because there's a lot of just like scam and discover or just like crazy late game, where Warlock is a bit different, because Warlock, if you just look at their entire roster, especially the ones that are the good cards, these are just a lot of really good tempo cards, you know, Shadow Blast, Final Gasp, Abomination, Abyssal Enforcer, Infestation. I mean, just everything here, basically. They do have a couple mass clears in the form of Soul Rend and Tell Customer, but everything else is just tempo decks, and that's what it seems like is, you know, I think it was my Hunter that just got completely steamrolled by a Warlock, and that's really what Warlock does best right now. They just get, you know, Demonic Assault and Spawn a Deathwing, and they just kill you really fast. So basically, Warlock is actually really the tempo class right now. And they are pretty darn good at it because these are a lot of really strong tempo cards. So that's enough to put them into tier 2 on this list. And I'm probably, because I'm a tempo player, I'm probably going to be playing a lot of Warlock as a result of that. And with that, there's a pretty significant cutoff at this point. I won't like leave an empty tier to show, but like these 5 classes are generally the classes you're going to want to be playing if you're trying to win. If you go any lower, you are going to be giving up quite a bit, because there's on the win rates, there's a quite significant drop off here. But these other classes are still playable. They're not terrible. And the next one we're going to talk about for this group is Druid. So Druid, if you look at their cards, it's a little surprising because they have really good cards, but the thing is that they just don't see a lot of their good cards. I think they still have the adjustment down. When they were nerfed via micro adjust, you can see like Miracle Growth is still only at like 22%, right? Scale of Onyxia only at 18%, and they might have lost the offering bonus as well. So Scale of Onyxia is now less common than Park Panther, a rare card, and Renegotiator as well. So yeah, Druid still functions basically the same as they did. The big addition they did get is Emerald Explorer, which is very common as well. So that's the one you really want to hit. But so basically, I get the sense that, you know, there's 2 types of Druids. There's ones that have Emerald Explorer and do generally well, and ones who don't, which will do generally not well. So that inconsistency puts Druid down into only the 3rd tier here, the decent category. And so joining Druid in the decent category, we have more of, again, one of the scam classes, and that is Mage. So Mage has pretty much very clear direction right now, which is they get a lot of really good spells, or they get a few drafted spells, and then they just discover a whole bunch more spells, right? Through Spell Coiler, through Runed Orb, and hopefully get a Rune the Archmage, or you can discover one and maybe get an Amulet if you want. But as well, if you can get some Mech Discoverers to maybe find their Colossal, or you get an Azure Explorer to find some Dragons, you know, this is what you want to be doing with Mage typically, is you want to be, you know, discovering stuff. You can probably do okay as a tempo class, especially, you know, you get things like Arcane Overflow, and if you get some Reach to finish them off too, that could certainly work, but I feel like it's just not going to be super consistent. And so with that, yeah, Mage, it's just pretty clear. You're trying to discover your ways to win, kind of like a Rogue. I think the big difference, you know, compared to like Rogue was like tier 2 in our list, I believe, right? But Mage is quite a bit lower at the more like the bottom of tier 3, because essentially a lot of their good cards are just epic and rare. So you just see less of them, and you can't reconnaissance into a Gigafin. So that's why Mage is not doing quite so well. With that, there are 2 classes left on our list. The first one I'm going to talk about here is Demon Hunter. They will both be in this tier. I think the issue with both of these 2 classes, I'm just going to put them both here right now because I already said it, but Demon Hunter and Hunter, they both have a bit of identity issues, I think. Demon Hunter, one of their big new cards was a mass clear, but they're still kind of, you know, the topple the idol. But they're still kind of, you still kind of want to play them as an aggressive deck, because the one thing that Demon Hunter totally lacks is the ability to, you know, discover dragons and things like that. So against all these other classes, you're kind of just forced to be the aggressor, and they don't have everything moving in the same direction, essentially. They have like a whole bunch of, some of their values invest into like healing and stuff. Their best card's Flame Reaper, but that doesn't even help you against like slow decks. It'll win you the game against anyone else, but you know, a lot of people are just drafting really slow, so they don't have really all their stuff oriented in the same direction. And they were also nerfed at the end of last meta, so that's probably hurting them as well. They definitely have some good cards, but you're just not going to get as many of them as you used to. And then Hunter, the last class. Hunter, as of recording this video, we just had a very, very fun Hunter deck, which went 12 because we had 3 legendaries, but we got lucky essentially, right? I believe we actually had the highest win rate card on this list, not including legendaries, was Rats. We did have a copy of Rats. I think we had a Mountain Bear as well. I think we had Primordial. Just, yeah, Hunter has a lot of good cards, but I think Hunter probably has the biggest identity issue just because Hunter kind of wants to be aggressive again. But they also have all these cards that want to be control, so it's just kind of a weird mix, right? It can work out very well if you happen to get the right combination of cards, but it can also just completely fail if your deck just doesn't agree with itself on what it wants to do. So again, it's one of those things where if you have a Primordial Explorer and you get Raid Boss Onyxia, then none of it really matters, right? Or you can Harpoon Gun into a Mountain Bear or something, but sometimes that just doesn't work out, and then as Hunter, you're kind of going to be on the back foot and fighting an uphill battle. Even with our 12-1 Hunter, it still felt like we were fighting an uphill battle a lot of the time. We were just able to persevere. It's definitely, if you haven't watched that one, I definitely recommend it. We'll put a card up there. It was very, very exciting. A lot of people saying it was the best run they've ever seen, and it felt that way when I was playing it. But anyway, that is it for our list. Let me know what you guys thought about this. If you enjoyed, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. I will say just overall, you know, like this is just incredibly high variance meta, like pretty much all of the recent metas we've had, so any class can have like a really bad deck or a really good deck. If you pick the better classes here, you'll just get better decks on average, but any deck can just be anywhere on the spectrum basically. And it's worth noting, like, things are just relatively well balanced in general. There's only one terrible class right now, and it tends to happen in dragon metas, you know, metas with this and dragons in it. The last one was really balanced. This one's not quite as balanced, but just generally speaking, because it just doesn't matter what class you are when you discover a dragon or you discover a Sneeds off of a mech discovered, so that tends to make things a bit more balanced in general. I'll potentially do a video talking more in depth about the meta and maybe talking about specifically classes, you know, like individual class guides. Maybe I might do that. Let me know what you guys want to see there, because I can definitely be open to feedback there. But yeah, with that, that's pretty much everything, so thanks a lot again for hanging out. We'll see you guys in the next one.